Everyone, it's SMESOS. It's Monday, and SMESOS, as you know, is the life raft that we pump up ready for small businesses when times are tough, when the seas are choppy, and we inflate this life raft to help all small businesses. This is going to be our final week, guys. So we would have done 2.5 weeks solidly every single morning, 10 a.m. This is our final week, and today we're going to be talking about money. Now, I'm going to just talk about generally money in terms of our businesses, but then we have got an expert on today. We have Makala Green, who's the author of The Money Edit, who's going to be joining us to talk about our personal finances. And the reason being is, I'm a firm believer, it's just fact. And the fact is that we normally never out there in the big wide world speak about business as if it actually affects our personal lives. What I know to be true for the last 20 years is that when you have money troubles at home, you tend to have money troubles at work. When you have both money troubles, it is one of the darkest places that you can be. And so I want to address this today. I want us to really talk about the fact that when we do have these money issues, it is real. It is horrific for your creativity. It is terrible for when you want to get your mojo back, all of these sorts of things. So today we're going to be getting into money from a professional side a bit with myself, and then we're going to talk to Makala Green, who's just launched a book about getting the right money mindset, and she's going to be sharing what's in her book, but also the tips that she would have for any businesses. And remember, this is a place that you can ask questions. So I'm going to ask this week, we've got people away on Easter holidays. I would love you right now, as we get into this, to invite a friend. Just one friend who wants to talk about money. I think that money, as I said, is one of the most stressful places. And yet we have this thing where we feel so guilty, so ashamed when we have cash flow issues. So many things. And I'm going to be quite vulnerable here because I think this is the only way to sort of break through is this vulnerability. So please, thank you. I've started seeing people starting to tag people. Thank you, Lucy Mill-Ass. You've just tagged Emily into this. Holistic Kitchen UK, you've just tagged Woody Marvelous. I love these names coming through. Melt So Good, you've just tagged in Sweet Cheeks Beauty. My favourite husband, I've got lots of them, has just bought me some tea and he's giving me the thumbs up. He always has to match my mug to the backdrop, which he obviously really delights in me telling him that. So thank you very much, Frankie. So in the next hour, we're going to be covering what it's like to survive through this financial times. Think Martin Lewis, but cooler. I love this. I don't think I'm on the level of Martin Lewis, but we're going to be talking about this. A few holly hacks I'm going to be sharing with you guys. Look at you tagging everyone in. Thank you, Jack and Lana Handmade. That's really kind of you tagging all these people in. Pego FME, Tilly's Toys. We've got Little Nest Creative. Thank you so much. Good morning to you. We're also, as I said, going to be talking to Makala. Right, so let's get into it. Firstly, how was your weekend? Hope it was good. I have recovered. I realised I did this sort of 14-day stretch. We did this amazing Easter shoot, but and my God, it's so good. Yeah, holes. Let's tag people in stories. You've got to see this. It's just crazy good. We did this amazing Easter shoot, and it took me all of the weekend before, if you see what I mean, to prep. And it makes you realise, us small businesses, when we do things and we are one lady bands, one man bands, how much of our time is taken up. And what you realise is, before you know it, you've done 14 days straight. And I actually thought I was hormonal, but I wasn't. I was actually totally knackered. So that's good, isn't it? So I get to have double whammy this month as well. Fantastic. More on that another time. Also, I've decided, I'm not going to tell you now. Yeah, well, now I am. I've decided, I hope you think it's a good idea, that I would really like to help on this basis that we're going to now talk about money, which is my experiences. So I have light bulb moments where I take a moment in the podcast and I share my thoughts around it. So I was just writing this one this weekend, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And it's just 15 minutes, but it gives me a moment to draw on my own experiences and share them with you. But then there's this whole other side, and this is what we're talking about today with money. There's a whole other side, isn't there, of just being woman to woman or Holly to small businesses. And there's the other side of the 360, the other 180. So if we've got business side, there's our personal side. And I just thought it might be a lovely moment for me to maybe do another email and share with you sort of the thoughts of just being a woman at this point in time, or a business owner at this point in time, but from my personal side. So I really hope you're going to enjoy this. It's going to launch in 2 Fridays time, 2 Mondays time. And it's basically a moment that I can share what's on my mind from a personal point of view. And I so hope that I can sort of lift the lid on a few things that we're going to be dealing with through life, and that I've dealt with. Anyway, it's a bit of a vulnerable thing for me. Not vulnerable, like, you know what I mean? I'm going to go there. My safety blanket is business. I keep my other side as sort of private, but that's just because my whole life is this. But I actually have shared so many things with people, and they're like, oh my gosh, you should tell other people about this. And I'm like, really? Do you think they'd be interested? So I'm just going to try it out and see. But this is going to be, let me know what you think, okay? Right. There's many different things affecting your business and personal finances. Number one, the UK inflation is at a 30-year high. So can we just take this on board and just realise we're at a 30-year high, right? So that means that the cost of living is going to rise and expected to continue to rise this entire year. So for fuck's sake, we've got that to deal with. As if, we were meant to have a better recovery this year, but because of the war, because of oil, because of everything that's going on, things are happening where that recovery is not being seen. Now, couple this with the increased energy prices, fuel prices, it means that businesses and people are going to be feeling the pinch. So this April, we'll also see an increased wages costs, with minimum wages increasing again. So that is worth knowing. That is just unbelievable how many minimum wages we've seen increase. Suppliers may be looking to increase their prices and really spending ahead. People are going to feel the pinch. Now, saying that, can I just be honest with you all? If someone is in a space where they're privileged enough to be able to purchase things and have some disposable income this year, they will still be spending with small businesses. So I feel that, and I hope you understand what I'm saying here, if you are privileged enough to be able to prioritise birthday presents, going out for a meal, maybe less frequently, being able to remember someone's birthday, being able to attend more events this year, you will be purchasing still from small businesses. The aim of the game, and why we're going to talk this week about making sales, I really, Natalie, want to do something on email, is why we need to understand that our other channels, apart from this one, needs to be strong, because people will be spending this year. So yes, it's doom and gloom. Yes, the media are going to now potentially, please God, let this war finish in the Ukraine. But we will just go on to financial crisis, okay? So just be prepared that that is what the media will do. So we will just go from one thing to another. And again, will we need SMESOS for this community who say, with so many people struggling financially, is it right that I'm selling my products? Yes, it is. Remember, this is just a chain of negativity, of negative events that get chained together through our media. It is not the whole entire world. It is not every single day of our lives. If we're lucky, as I said, if we're lucky enough to not be feeling the complete pinch of all of these things going on. So I just wanted to remind you that, remember, bad news will follow the war. That will God willing, stop anytime soon. It will be the financial crisis that we're going through. So you need to remember that, but you also need to remember 980 billion will be spent by women across the globe this year. I think I've got that right. Holly&Co, let me know. What about that female? I've got it, Penny. A Penny, a friend of mine, has got a stat that she shared with me. Anyway, lots of hellos and good mornings and tagging. The Bee Orchard Home and Gifts, thank you so much for everything you do. Popsy Clunk, I was shopping with my daughter and chatted to a female founder shopkeeper in Belper about your fab lives. We are so grateful, Holly. Kylie Falcus, I feel like with business it is so entrangled into our own lives too. Bread a gift shop, love it. It will be here to help so many. Wouldn't you love? Definitely interested in this. Sally C's Designs, there's always going to be plenty of customers with disposable income. It's just about finding them. And that's true. This is what we're talking about. There will be customers, whatever the credit issues that we're going to go through, there will be customers. Sorry, I'm sounding all bunged up. Salty Sea Designs, oh no, Hannah Mary Jewelry, with a war going on, the price is hiking up. I keep thinking, why on earth am I making jewelry when there are such immense problems happening in the world? I get it. And please do look at my post today. I understand that. And wouldn't we do anything? I would give up this entire business in a heartbeat to save one more death in the Ukraine. Of course I would. But that's not going to stop anything. But what is going to stop something is my business continuing so that I can not only have a great business, but also I can do good. If I didn't have this business, I couldn't do good. So start to think of your businesses. Remember what I say, always put purpose and passion into your businesses. But if I couldn't have this platform, if I didn't have Holly&Co, I personally, as Holly, I couldn't do what I'm doing here. Your businesses are a vehicle for good. They're more powerful than the government. Listen to all the conversations of inspiration. These are powerful people with their businesses. So you're not just making jewelry. You are creating a company that you can have a wider platform with, and you can channel it not only to create a profitable, successful company, but with that, you can start changing mindsets and doing good. That is the rewiring we need to think about. Dottie Lee, sounds wonderful. You always seem so together, on it and driven, constantly giving everyone a boost. To hear more vulnerable side will make us feel okay to have low days. We are all human. Oh my gosh, yes. I'm a human too, by the way. Dottie Lee, I promise you, there are absolutely the low days and there are absolutely all these things, but I show up for you guys. You guys give me energy. This is my most energetic space that I can be in my business. So that's why you see me like this, because your comments, all of these things that you tell me, bring me energy and I just want to help. Burley Interiors, thank you for this. It has made me a little bit more hopeful. Jasmine and Lily Floral Wreaths, it is doom and gloom, but it has made me look at how I can make the most if stock I have. It's made me make the most of the stock I already have. As suppliers' prices are already sky high. And a treasured something, thank you for all you do. We must stick together. We are amazing people. That is completely and utterly true. Right, here are some of my hacks. Because firstly, I want to say there is no shame in having cash issues. I have cash issues right now at Holly&Co. So that is about timings, and it's got nothing to do with anything else except timings. But that is my reality. That is a reality of running a business. Unless you are going to be a highly, highly profitable company with a good amount of rainy day funds in the bank account, you'll never have cash issues again. But cash is the oil of our companies. And with all best endeavours, sometimes the oil dries out. There's other oil coming along, but the oil dries out. That is okay. There is nothing to be ashamed about with having money problems. It would actually be frigging odd if you didn't. And it would be odd if you didn't have personal issues. In my time, my businesses have nearly gone bust 3 times. my personal circumstances, I've nearly gone bust, I don't know, 5 times, where I've risked it all, where I've put, and by the way, calculated risks. I'm actually not a risky person. I look like I'm Holly Hurricane with finances. And yes, I do have a slight issue with shopping with small businesses, but that's just part of the cause, huh? I will have that till the day I die. But the fact is that we have issues. And when my finances are low, I remember in the beginning days of starting up Not on the High Street, I remember, Frank took time, Frank left his job so that he could be with Harry. We couldn't have 2 people with the amount of work that we were both doing. So he left his job. So we went on to one income 12 years ago. From there, I then, we needed to try and make ends meet. And I remember having a very long period of times where I would take money out and I'd get my envelopes and I would put all my energy money into an envelope. I would put the food allowance into an envelope. I would put, money for Harry into an envelope. And basically, we knew that we couldn't, and the only way we could do it is by having it in cash, so that I knew that we weren't going to go and overspend. And this was definitely my entire existence, really, at Not on the High Street. And, still today, everyone thinks whatever anyone thinks. And of course, I'm very, very fortunate and very privileged. I've worked incredibly hard to be in this circumstance. But I still have the spreadsheet that I had when I was 26 years old. No, even before then, it must have been 25 years old. My dad set me up a spreadsheet and I still have that spreadsheet today. And actually all the tabs go back to that time where I have a tab where I plan my year, how much we're going to spend on everything. I then try and plot it every 2 months. Where am I at? What did we spend on food? What did we spend on energy? What did we spend on coffees at Holly&Co? That is a big amount of money I spend there. What is it I spend on Christmas? What is it that I want to make allowances with, etc., etc.? What are we going to put away for holidays? I've still got the same spreadsheet that I had when I was 25 and I'm 45. So, there is an absolute, because it freaks me out to be in that situation where the envelopes come back out. And I think we all have that time, don't we? In our businesses as well as our personal side, that for me, the lowest of the low is when I get to that point. The stress is off the wall. So I want to just share with you those stories because I really understand. And it's why we have an expert coming on to talk about our personal finances. Right, Holly hacks, okay? Let me read out a few more comments. Kaylee Falcus, the world keeps moving and we can do great things and spread kindness with our businesses. Law Design Studios, definitely what I needed to hear today. I'm struggling for a quiet month last month, but have had a good reaction to new product launches. So although it is crazy, I know the money will come soon. Dottie Lee, so true. And worth reminding ourselves, I sell just cards, but just a card can mean so much more to this recipient as I can work with so many creatives. Salty Sea Designs, the beauty of being a small business is it makes you more flexible, creative and fluid to quickly change. Ellie Gray, 2019, when I send people their orders, I feel like I'm sending them the joy and making them happy. Thank you, Holly, for these lives. Here to serve. The Fusion Florist, you are like a breath of business fresh air. Oh, let's capture that one. I love that. I've not heard that. Business fresh air. Is there a fragrance in that? I mean, talk about a niche, not well sold fragrance, that not a bestseller fragrance that I could create. Business Fresh by Holly. Anyway, Sandbanks Jewelry. I love your positivity. Right. Sandbanks Jewelry, with that positivity, let me tell you something. I told you that stat and I obviously, didn't have it here. So now my secret people, my HQ have told me, beamed it to me. Consumer spending in the UK amounts to more than 1.23 trillion in 2020. And it's estimated Women control 70 to 80% of that, which equates to 920 billion. Okay, 920 billion. So that's 2020. We're now in 2022. Shave off a bit because it's going to be a bad year. What are we calling it? 800 billion will be spent by women in the UK. 800 billion. So you need to understand that that's going to happen with you or without you. So what you need to do is put your hand up and say, it needs to be with me, because what I make deserves some of that 800 billion. Actually, quite a lot of it, if possible. Right, let's go to Holly hacks. You need to get hard-earned cash more fluid. Okay, so when times are hard, I used to put a hold on my credit cards, because you can do that for 3 months. You can take a breather with your mortgage, which I frequently did, and you can get better payment plans with stockists. So I've just mixed a bit there, okay, personal and business. So that for your personal credit cards and mortgage repayments, you can put pauses on these things. For your business, get better payment plans with your stockists. Because, I don't know why I'm so bloody bunged up. Can I just have a slurp of tea? 1 second. Tea solves everything. So what we're meaning here is better payment plans. So when you pay a stockist and when they pay you, ideally you want the most amount of time to pay them. Yeah, you want 30 days, 60 days. You're never going to get that maybe, but if you can, do. And on the other way, you want to pay, you want them to pay you in a week. Not fair, is it? But that's what you want. Make your cash last all year round. So take a look at your historical stock and sales data. Do not fear the data. Even if you look at 3 numbers, it's better than no numbers. So many people don't look at their numbers. Put it down. If you're not going to do it in a spreadsheet, again, I'm a big fan of the post-it notes. Put all the months and put all of your sales last year. Predict what you're going to make this year. Look at the market you're operating in. Think about the offers and whether you can actually broaden your offer out there. Plan for potential drop in trading. So if you prepare to be up shit creek, then it's not really as bad as it would have been, right? If you prepare for a bad summer, what do you think? I think it's not going to be a great summer. I'm afraid to say this. I think it's not, because I think everyone is going to be away on holiday. And I think just like Easter, if BA can actually frigging sort out the staffing and IT issues and all of those sorts of things that are happening, I think it's going to be a low summer. So you need to prepare for that. Let's do tax returns as soon as possible. When you first register yourself as a sole trader, it's that when it comes into the first year's self-assessment, you are asked to pay a year in advance. This means that for some people, almost 2 years will be due when you make your first payment, the year just gone, and the payment in advance for the following year. Did you know that? If not, you can find out loads more on the government website, but be aware. Do your tax return as soon after April as possible, as it is due by the following January. That way you have a whole 9 months to know what you need to pay. Because if you are doing it at the end of the year and you suddenly have a phenomenal, I like that word, that's frigging and phenomenal mixed together, phenomenal tax bill, you're a bit buggered, right? So you've got to do it. Find yourself a professional. Always, always, always. Were you born with an accountant stuck to you? Probably not, unless they're your other half. If not, you need to find one, and you need to ask them all the freaking stupid questions in the world. I mean, you can just ask anything. You're paying them. You need to start from, what do I say? Start from the beginning. What is tax? What is a P&L? Can we just call it something else, Mr. Accountant? Okay, call it Holly Spreadsheet. Okay, great. What is Holly Spreadsheet got to be on there? What is the first thing I've got to write on there? What is cash flow? What is tax? What is EBITDA? What is... Just ask the questions. It does not matter. Define your payment terms. As I said, that is so important. You pay if you can, by the way, don't be arseholes. I know we're not going to be arseholes. Why am I swearing so much today? Don't be arseholes. And excuse me. Can we just say excuse me, Holly? Sorry for that. You know what it is? I watched Wolf on Wall Street last night. Oh my gosh, I find it one of the funniest films of my life. Anyway, there's so much swearing, I think I swallowed that in my dreams. You've got to, if it's a small business, you've got to be respectful. If it's a big business, they can cope without your cash and you need to negotiate that. Fixed costs will be due even in the slowest sales months. So remember, that is what you cannot get away from. You know, maybe you can get your landlord to, yeah, you're all laughing at my faux pas. I'm so sorry, by the way. I didn't mean to call you that. I don't think you are that, by the way. Your landlord might not give you a payment break. So that's a fixed cost. You are going to have to pay your rent. Create financial boundaries. Okay, this is, if you are topping up your business with your personal finances, which is what myself and Sophie did for 2 years, with our credit card, actually, not even our personal finances, because we'd run out of that money. Stop. Well, you're not going to be able to stop. You have got to very quickly find a transition period and a solution for that, because that is no good. You personally cannot be forevermore topping up your company finances. Okay, I've got loads of comments. Misfit Bakes Vegan. That's the thing. We put ourselves in a better position to do good to lots more people and the planet. The cakes make people happy, and I feel honoured to do that. Slugs and snails, thank you, Holly, for saying it's okay. It sometimes feels like a catastrophe is around the corner. I totally agree. It has been. Okay, you've got to remember, Brexit, pandemic, a war, people talking about nuclear war. Right? Now we're into financial crisis. What bit have we had a breather in? Salty Sea Designs, it is sometimes finding another stream of income whilst also carrying on your business through tough times. Absolutely. You used to multi-hyphenate your business or work in a multi-hyphenated way. Go back to it. When I started Not on the High Street, I had to still sell my fares. I still had to work for magazines on a freelance basis. Not on the High Street, I'd never paid myself for the first year and a half. We had a mortgage and my husband didn't have a lot of income coming in. What did we do? I had to make ends meet. So I just went back. Hey, can I do 1 day a week with you? Topped up my amount that I was being charged. I charged. And that really helped me have a little bit of income coming in. There's no shame in that. That's what you do. It's what you do when you're a mother to your business. You do anything for your children. So why not on earth go and take 2 day a week job somewhere just while you get through this? There is no shame. Joe Prado, thank you, Holly, for saying these things about money. Life is feeling so scary right now, but it helps just to know you're not alone. You're not alone, by the way. Tiger Lily Jewelry, thank you for being so honest, Holly. It's kind of comforting to know that everyone can have cash flow worries. Everyone has. And you, by the way, a little bit like the news is going to be like a chain reaction of bad news. There's not going to really be a moment you're not going to have cash flow issues. Be on it like a car bonnet. Be on it like a car bonnet. Is that a saying? Don't think so. Be on it. Cash flow, you are absolutely going to be stuck unless you know your cash flow. If you do nothing else, have 3 numbers. Your sales coming in, what you're making out of them, your predictions, your costs, what your cash is every month, what your bank balance is, what your overdraft is, and work those things through, because all it takes is a bad 2-3 months of cash flow and your business could go under. Missy PMC, thank you so much for this. It is good to hear the reality from someone who knows. Sometimes this independent small business is a scary, lonely place. It's all about showing up consistently. Incy Wincy Studio, I still stash money away in envelopes, mostly just in case. It's actually very, very comforting. Hello, look at me now. Can I say how lovely it is to see one who speaks your language? I really appreciate that. Pink Line Mango, thank you for sharing these experiences, Holly. Mothers have the most amazing resilience. Michelle Corbin Design, I have just hired an accountant and she is holding my hand this year so that I can do all of this, Holly. Your words are a great reminder. Hire an accountant. Absolutely, please do. Salty Sea Designs, with every single sale, put a third in a separate savers account and do not spend it on anything. It will always cover your tax bill. That's a real good tip, isn't it? Okay, find yourself. Okay, so we've got a few questions coming in, but I'm going to talk to now Makala, who's an award-winning financial expert. Hang on a second, let's see. I'm just going to join Makala and we can talk. Remember to ask questions, be vulnerable, guys. This is why we have amazing people. Makala is the UK first Black female chartered financial planner. And she's an award-winning financial expert. She's just written a book, The Money Edit. So I'd love you to ask her all your financial questions, poor Makala. And she's just going to join us any moment now. Keep your questions coming. We're stacking them up here for her. Hopefully she's got my invite and she's just working it through.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Holly. How are you?
I'm good. Last time we saw each other, well, I wasn't dancing, but you and your mum were, because I'm not going to compete with that.
More of my mum than me.
I mean, she is just amazing. I met Makala at her book launch, The Money Edit, and Makala's mum, just phenomenal. How old was she?
She's 65 now. She's turned a bit of a celeb since the book launch, but
yeah, I mean, she was phenomenal and she was owning that dance floor. It's so lovely you can be here. We've got a small business community here who are going through a tough time because, as you know, what we've all gone through, sales are down, times are tough. And I don't know if you caught any of the first half, but I was reminding people, when you have personal financial issues and business financial issues, it's a very, very dark space to be in. Tell us about yourself for a moment and your book. And then I'd love to talk to you about how do you get over this fear of finance and start to sort of own it?
Yes, so thanks for having me, Holly. I'm Makala Green. I'm a chartered financial expert. A lot of people ask, what does that mean? Basically, I help people achieve their financial goals, which many people find difficult, especially in current climates like this. I've been in the industry just over 18 years now, dare I say. And it's been a journey. It's been an absolute journey. I got into the industry really, really young. And I've kind of grown up in finance, which is quite different to many young teenagers. So I suppose a lot of the early mistakes that many people do make in their financial journey, I wasn't exposed to so much of that because, you know, I had the kind of help and support from the banking industry. And then fast forward 7 years ago, when I set up my own financial practice, that's when I was open to the whole world of, you know, the problems that people face on a much larger scale in terms of, you know, struggling to buy a property or get on the property ladder, struggling with savings, investing. And what I found was a lot of it was to do with, you know, personal inner thoughts, personal inner barriers that we set for ourselves, and kind of things that we kind of, you know, we overcomplicate things to do with money. So it's always been, you know, a great passion of mine, number one, to help people with money and help them take control, but also realize that they have the potential within them, you know, to release that and kind of manifest that money journey, because it's always told, you know, you're always told if you haven't, like, if you're not born into wealth or you haven't, you know, come from like wealthy backgrounds, that you can't achieve great things. And I just think that's all a myth. So, you know, I'm here to demystify financial planning. I'm here to do away with all the money myths. And yeah, that's why I've written the book.
Yeah, and
the
this
money
is the
edit.
book. I've been showing your book almost every day this week.
Thank you so much, Holly.
So listen, when I was introduced, when we had our chat at your book launch, I said that, you know, getting hold of your finances is one of the greatest feminist acts that you can do as a woman. And I think that and I write about it in my own book, about burying your head in the sand like an ostrich, which is what we can tend to do. We're so scared about it. You know, I'm very, very nervous about money. My father is actually a chartered accountant as well. And he, you know, he helps me with my money, always has. He was the FD at Not in the High Street. He's my mentor at Holly&Co and sits on the board. No. But when he calls me and he says, Holly, we need to chat about money, I literally freeze, because I have such PTSD from all of the years I had struggled with money, all of the years making it through, all of the years I'm not understanding how I can make my mortgage repayments or make my rent, or do you know what I mean? All these sorts of things. Do you think a lot of us have this sort of PTSD, this worry that if we look at it, we're going to see what's happening and then we can't even control it, even if we do know what's happening?
Absolutely. So many people, they fear the worst, especially when it comes to money. And that's why I was so adamant, you know, on, you know, titling the money, no blame, no shame, because I think there is so much shame, so much embarrassment around money. And that just prevents us, you know, from achieving our financial destiny and financial freedom. And I think especially as women, because it's always been kind of, there is this stigma, you know, that women are not great with money, or they can't invest, you know, and I think a lot of that comes from periods where it was only husbands in the household, you know, that would deal with money, because going back to my,
which by the way is only a couple of generations ago.
Well, it
right?
is, you know,
it's not like we're like going, oh yeah, that was in Victorian time. Like, it literally was
so true.
Maybe the last generation, you know, my dad does all the money. My mum doesn't. That's always been the situation. And potentially, by the way, I might be the first generation then to do all the money in my household, and my son has seen that in his 17 years, so maybe that will change his perception. But it's not long ago that men controlled everything.
It's not long ago. I would have so many clients, you know, coming over to me and saying, you know, my husband's passed away, this is the first time I'm ever having to discuss money, you know, and that for me was really shocking. And it's so refreshing to see now more women, you know, feeling empowered about their financial journeys and wanting to understand, wanting to embark on that. But one of the major reasons, I think, money's still not taught in schools. You know, learning a number of these fundamental things are still not taught in schools. And it's kind of like, how can we give ourselves such a hard time when sometimes for some people, you know, their own personal journey, they're leading, it's like blind leading the blind kind of thing. And it's like, when you go wrong, it's only if you have somebody in your past, like potentially parents or friends, that could have led you in some form of right direction. And I just think so much more needs to be done there. And that was one of the major reasons putting out the book, to just give people that foundation.
That foundation. Listen, I've got a stat here. When the first British credit crunch. No, not even that. Credit cards. I mean, credit card. Credit card. When the first British credit card launched 50 years ago, it was mostly used by men, because in the 1960s and 70s, women were viewed as riskier investment by banks and stores. Women had to get their fathers or husbands to sign for most loans, even if they earned more than them. This is in the 60s and 70s. Is this not crazy? Now, let me just read out a few comments before we get into it. Creatorship.co.uk. This SOS is brilliant. We need to talk about money when it is there and when it is not there. Wild Art by Carrie. I feel so blessed to be part of this amazing community. I absolutely love these lives every day. I have a notebook full of tips and tricks. Thank you, Holly. You are so honest and you make me laugh too. You're a legend. Well, bless you. I managed to call everybody something, which was not great. Joe Clark Jewelry, thank you for being so honest and so relatable and so extremely helpful. You really pick me up every time I watch your lives and hear your podcast. It really does feel so comforting, like a community. Love it. Holistic Kitchen UK, I've got a Monzo account and you can set it up so that certain percentage of your
Yes,
earnings go into a separate savings pot. It's been brilliant for helping me to save. A couple
absolutely.
more comments, and then I've got some questions for Kayla, actually. Salty Sea Designs, the beauty of this is realizing you are not alone. We are all in this together, and we will always be stronger together. Elise and Tom Candles, I was told by a business coach not to let past financial difficulties paralyze your future. Easier said than done, but wise words. And Sparks Eco Shop, I can give myself a hard time when I don't make as much money as my partner. I have to remind myself that my business is still young and it takes time to get there. Quick question here. Weekend Candy. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Let me just ask one. Little Flourish Company. I'm really struggling with finding funding. Where do I apply for it? Do you have any advice on this? So tell us before, maybe if you tell us what your, like the maybe 4 main areas your book covers, because actually people should buy your book and look at it. And then maybe we can get into some tips.
Yeah, definitely, you know, the money mindset, and like kind of doing away with some of those myths. And somebody mentioned about past mistakes that they had, and you know, the book really celebrates that actually having money mistakes is a great foundation to learning and embarking on, you know, financial freedom, because it's an experience. If you don't learn from mistakes, then how will you know when you're doing the right thing and you're on the right path? So they can be great things as well, and stepping stones. So that's important. I think having the right positive money mindset, it doesn't cost you anything. You know, money, so a lot of things with money, everybody experiences and says, you know, it's so expensive to do these things. Creating the right money mindset will cost you £0. And I think that is absolutely key. And then the next steps is looking at, you know, adopting the right savings account. So somebody mentioned about separating different pots, and that is absolutely key. It just helps you, you know, organize yourself. I mean, how nice do you feel when your house is lovely, spring cleaned, you know, everything's in the right order, you feel at ease, you know? And the same thing happens with your finances when you spring clean and everything's in the right order and in its right place. And I think that is absolutely key. And if you can find an app or a bank that helps you do that, fantastic. The next step is looking at debt. So we spoke about, you know, women, you know, 50 years ago not having the credit cards. And I think it's understanding, because there's a difference between borrowing and debt, and a lot of people get them confused. I think debt is not always a bad thing. So we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay, because it can get ugly, but debt can also be a good thing as well if you know how to use it in the right way. So there's a difference between borrowing and understanding what's the right type of borrowing for you that you need, whether it's for your business or whether it's for personal, and how to capitalize on that so it doesn't become an ugly thing, and it doesn't become a thing that, you know, causes stress in your life, which debt does for so many people. So that's a key. And then it really goes on to, you know, you've got family and you've got now a partner, and you know, you've got changing circumstances. So this is the thing where I find many people, I definitely struggled, you know, when it came to that. I think most of the things that was, you know, like setting up the bank account and all of that in my early days, and buying a property, that was all kind of, it worked out okay for me because, you know, I was in the bank, I had somebody helping me. But at the same time, when it came to starting a family and understanding how you should restructure your finances, that became an issue for me, because nobody doesn't teach you these things, you know, and that was something I struggled with. So it's something that I wanted to incorporate in there, because the way that you deal with your money needs to completely change when you have children, when you get married, you know, and it's kind of like how to merge that, and whether you should merge that, because again, there's no right or wrong into how you deal with your money, but it's understanding that a change needs to happen in order for you to then progress. So we talk about the change in circumstances, and then we go on to, you know, the area that most people don't like to hear. I call it after work, but retirement is the word, the big R, but it's planning for the future, and it's so key. And the earlier you can start planning, the better. The more you know about it, the better you can plan, and the better, you know, kind of dream luxury retirement, whatever it is that you want to achieve in your future, you can have, if you understand the fundamentals and things that you need to do right now to achieve that fast forward in future. So those are kind of like broad the broad steps of everything.
Brilliant.
With that. So it's a journey.
And
It's
some of the things I would just say on that one is, one, we do a lot of work with our coach Kate here about lots of things, and we talk about we've got to rewire before we start implementing, because we can't start implementing any change, any significant change, unless we're thinking differently. So I think that the number one thing is, you know, if you are having money issues, you've got Makala's book that you could be buying. We'll do a link to it on stories, but also you have got resources out there.
So many.
If you don't go and deal with it, you're going to have troubles, and they're going to continue. So if you want to keep your stress, I'm going to rip off the plaster. Only you can start to change that. Makala talks about debt. Sometimes debt is a good thing. We talk about, you know, women are historically and statistically not likely to take on debt or borrowing or all those sorts of things. You know, I'm thinking about taking on some debt. That's okay, because I know exactly why I'm taking it on. If I was a man, I would be absolutely taking on debt. Why would I not be taking it on? We think about investment, but actually sometimes it's just a good old-fashioned loan that we're going to pay back, and that's what we can do. And a lot of our small businesses might not retire. They might want to run these businesses until they're older, but you will definitely want to change, let's say, the 15 hours a day you work now.
Yes.
Guess what? You might want to be doing maybe a Friday off, or even a Saturday and Sunday when you're 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. So retirement does relate to you, even if you're going to be running your business. I've got some comments and questions. Vanessa Beanie, going to buy your book now. There you go, Makala. Hell Curls, I have struggled with my finances my whole adult life and feel helpless and hopeless at times. Makala is a star in all aspects. We'll buy her book ASAP. Sparkles Eco Shop, I can give myself a hard time when I don't make as much money as my partner. Oh no, I've read that. Pink Line Studio, my thinking around money is so influenced by my parents. Dad's a saver and advised me not to discuss money, and mum's attitude is you can't take it with you. I love those. Yeah, exactly. Brighton View Shop, listening to this morning has already made me feel so inspired and positive. Been feeling like I'm in a worry pit at the moment and already feeling in a different mindset. Before I read a couple of questions to you, so in my lifetime, so I turned 45, can you even believe, and we're talking about why we have this mindset. Well, this is why. In my lifetime, it was illegal to a woman to have a credit card. So it was 1980 when women were legally allowed to have a credit card. So it's in my lifetime. So it hasn't, that's why we've got all this baggage, women. This is why. It's not crazy. No. This is why we were not allowed to have a credit card in the 1980 was the first time. Jasmine and Lily Floral Reese, I have a poor credit history due to past debts, but I have worked hard to improve it. Do you have any tips?
Yes, there are definitely tips in there, but I think some key fundamental things would be to keep an eye on your credit report, reduce debt as much as possible. There's a number of things like addresses. These things affect your credit report as well. So reducing, you know, the number of times you move in the space of 3 years. And also, you know, you've got other things like keeping debt to no more than 30% of the amount of debt that you're allowed to actually spend. I think that's really important. Avoiding
how much?
30%.
So only spend 30% of what you can.
So if you've got £1,000 spending limit, don't go over more than £300 of debt.
So no maxing out credit cards.
So no maxing out credit cards. Ideally, you know, spend with your credit card, but pay it off each month. That is a key way to boost up your credit scoring. Also paying things like direct debit. Like I like to pay car insurance and things like that ahead of time, year in advance. But if you are trying to boost your credit for a short period of time, those kind of things are good to set up as direct debits. They kind of
that's a little extra. Great tip. I didn't know that. Penny and Lola, do you have any advice on what you should spend on marketing your business and at what point you should spend money on product development? Well, I don't know. Are you happy for me to answer that?
That's more of a business.
So I think on advice on marketing your business, Penny and Lola, you know, ultimately, have you explored every single free avenue before you start spending? And before you even start spending on even free things, as in spending your time, because remember that is also costing you money, have you worked out who your customer is? And if not, head over to the IGTV, I think that we did on Thursday, which is about finding out who your customer is. There is no point in marketing your business when you're throwing it up against a wall and hoping something will stick, i.e., you market to everybody, but your audience is only 2 people out of 10. So you have to find out who your audience is. Then next, you need to find out all of the free ways that you could be marketing it, and then start thinking about paid. And also, should I spend money on product development? Well, if you're talking about doing a prototype and putting it up on a marketplace that you've joined, or putting up on Instagram and seeing what the reaction is, yes, you should. What an amazing way to gain reaction without spending too much money on stock. Bridal by Sarah Roberts. My mum was always my accountant, but sadly passed away in November. Where do I find a good accountant that works on my side? It scares me so much. Bridal by Sarah Roberts, I totally agree. My dad has been my financial rock since I was 20 years, well, all my life, but in business since I was 23. And he's not going anywhere, but if he ever did, I always think about this. It just would make it just a nightmare for me, because he's always been my buddy in that. So firstly, Bridal by Sarah Roberts, I'm so sorry for your loss. Makala, what do you think about finding a good accountant?
I think that is, you know, absolutely key. I was listening to the live before I joined, and I saw you singing on about that. And, you know, it makes the difference in business. Sometimes it's kind of like people look at it and think, I've got to part ways with cash that I don't have to hire an accountant for money that's not coming into the business. But the accountant can almost help you sometimes identify different ways how you should structure your business, you know, to become more profitable as well. So it's definitely money worth spending. And you also get to be made aware of all the things like having to pay, you know, tax a year in advance. A lot of people stumble upon that. So, you know, the tax man will obviously help you with all of those kind of areas, and just make you aware of all the things that you need to know, which you might not be running your business as efficiently without an accountant. So I think it's
because guess what? We didn't swallow we didn't do all the things you've done to be in your place that you're in. Do you know what I mean? So we need people to help us, right?
Yes.
And the other thing I would just say is, I would bet that whatever you spend on an accountant, within reason, you will make back in savings. Because if 100%. You've never had anyone look at your business, by very nature, there's going to be all of these things that you're not aware of. Would you agree, Makala?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Copper top cards, definitely buying Makala's book. I am chaotic with money and really need to get it organized. Creatorship.co.uk. I always listen to these lives twice. Once to take it in and once with you to take notes.
Love it.
Well done.
Love it.
Calm lettering. This is exactly what I needed to start a new week. Tell me, what would you say in before you go, because people are going to buy your book, follow you on Instagram. What would you say are sort of the top 3 things in your life as a woman, as someone that's in finances, and all your clients that you've had? What are those sort of top 3 things that you would give as tips to everybody listening?
The first step is realizing that you can do it. Because I think so many people tell themselves, I can't, you know, I can't retire at 50, 40, 60, whatever age it is. I can't invest. I'm not good with maths. I can't do this. You know, stop telling yourself that you can't, because you can. You can. People have done it. You can do it. And more people will come along and do it as females. So, you know, just go ahead and bite the bullet and go with it. So that's the first step. The second one is, you know, set something that works for you, because I think one of the reasons why so many people overcomplicate money is because they're comparing their financial journey to their best friend or their husband or their partner or their boss, whoever it is. They're comparing their journey to somebody else's. And you know what? Everybody's journey is different. I get asked so many times, oh, what insurance did you recommend for another client? You know, your insurance is going to be different to everybody else's, most likely, because it's personalized to you. Your investment is going to be different to everybody else's. It's personalized to you. So create something, you know, stay in your lane and own it. And that's it. Don't worry about whatever else is going on in anybody else's lane. And the third thing I would say, which is really most important, is set actionable tasks for yourself. And that is something that I put in the book, which is a bit of accountability, you know, because I think a lot of people, they get on track with their finances and they somehow fall off track because of one situation or another. But a lot of the time I find it's because we're not being accountable. So we're not holding ourselves accountable, or we're not putting things in place that will keep us on that track and keep that momentum going. You know, so like a lot of people's listened to this live this Monday. Somebody said they listened to it again. Those kind of things, just keep the momentum going. Whatever it takes, you know.
Whatever it takes. Even if it's a packet of Jaffa cakes that you're allowed to eat while you do it. One of the things I do is I diarise it. So in my diary, every Sunday, there is an hour for me to get on top of my finances, pay my bills, like understand it, right? Then every once a month, if my father's watching, he'll just literally laugh. Once a month, he and I get together and we go through it all again. Because actually what I find out is it's a little bit like anything. Unless I take the steam out of my worry, it builds up subconsciously. And then it starts having monster babies and all these sort of things. I start to get overrun, but nothing's wrong.
Nothing's wrong.
It's just nothing's wrong. It's just the fact that I haven't gone there because I'm so PTSD with all my past that actually, you know, so it's about continuing the flow. So after this live,
like we set dates to do our nails, we set appointments to do our hair, set those dates and appointments, you know, for your money, because it's just as important. So
and it pays for the nails and hair. A few more comments before makes space Cornwall, book purchase, can't wait to get stuck in. Thank you both. Elise and Tom Candles, you couldn't have come more timely. I am reconciling my accounts and it is such hard work. The Happy Mind Club London, love these tips and hacks. Thank you. Michaela, thank you so much for your
Holly.
time. I'd love to ask you on again in the future. I'm with you. I'm going to put a link to your book. Good luck and have the best day.
Good luck to you as well. Well done.
Take care, darling.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye. Wow, what a lovely lady she is. Michaela there with her book for everyone to purchase. We'll put a link in our stories. It's going to be a wonderful week. We have got so much coming up. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about Pinterest, okay, everyone? So lots of people remember what we're doing. We started the week saying that Instagram cannot be our entire business, that the algorithm is dicking us around. And so what we need to do is look at diversification. But what is diversification, Holly, you were saying to me? So we're going to be addressing these things. So head over to 8 days ago, whatever it was, we started on the Wednesday, not last week, but the week before. Go and have a look at all the SME SOSs. We're going to be doing Pinterest tomorrow because a lot of you have found that Pinterest is actually converting as a sales platform and is actually really notable, as in it's not like a few sales, it's properly working for them. So we're going to be talking to small business community, and actually if anyone here is having great success on Pinterest, can you DM me? Maybe you can join me tomorrow. Also, is anyone else having any success on other platforms? Okay, so that would be wonderful to talk to you. If you are having not a few sales, by the way, I'm talking about significance, where the dial has completely moved in your business because you have gone onto another platform. As you know, we spoke to Fair, didn't we? The marketplace for wholesale. Lots of people spoke about how that had changed things. We're going to be talking about emails. We've talked about looking at our customers and our audience. So tomorrow it's about Pinterest. Thank you so much for this, Lucy Jane Ceramics, the Happy Minds Club London. Love these tips and hacks. We have got Tiger Lily Jewelry. Thank you for today's live. Absolutely, everybody. Tomorrow we're talking about Pinterest. DM me if you would like for me to get you onto the live tomorrow, or if you have any sales platforms that are working for you, because it's when we help each other, everyone. It's when we help each other. This is when things can really, really change. And remember what Makala has said. You've got to get out the mindset that you can't do this. You've got to take responsibility for your money. And once you do, it's like that feeling of being in control. And then you've got to diarize that you will never, ever, you've got to promise yourself, my hands up there, because that's me swearing to myself, that I will never put myself into that frantic, horrible position where I'm nervous about money ever again. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the promise you need to make. Over and out. I'll see you tomorrow.